Bringing you the latest news from around the world and here at home. I'm Sandro Ferdinando.
And I'm Nicola De Zouza. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines.
Sajid Premadasa stresses that he will enter office only through the public mandate and not by any other means. Sri Lankan cricket contingent for the ICC World Cup named. Cabinet decision curtails regulatory powers of the Public Utilities Commission. Another suspect arrested in Markola for the possession of 5 kilograms of heroin.
On our top story tonight, Sri Lanka's 15-man squad for the 2019 Cricket World Cup was announced today.
Avishka Fernando, Lahiru Thirimanne, Kusal Janit Pereira, Kusal Mendes and Angelo Matthews have been included as batsmen in the Sri Lankan team, which will be led by the Mutkarunaratne. The all-rounders are Dhananjaya De Silva, Thisara Pereira, Milinda Siriwardana, Jeevan Mendes and Isuru Udana. Lasit Malinga, Jeffrey Vandersay, Suranga Lakmal and Nuwan Pradeep make up the bowling lineup.
This team has performed really well and I hope all of them will continue to support me in the World Cup. Even though I have not played ODIs in the past 4 years, I have been in the top 5 batsman ranking in the local limited over format. During those 5 years, I have played international tests and gained experience. The only difference is the format. Actually, Dhananjaya is quite ahead of Akila, and it is a bit difficult to take 2 off spinners. That's why we included 2 leg spinners. In the likes of Vandersay and Jeevan Mendes, we had a problem regarding the opening batsmen. Dikwala and Danushka Gunatilaka have been our openers thus far, but their form is very poor. Thirimanne was in the squad for New Zealand, Australia and South Africa. In the 2015 World Cup, he was number 3. Thirimanne was after Sangakkara and Dilshan. You would have seen him in the provincial tournament, where he showed us his experience as an opening batsman. Where can Dinesh Chandimal bat? If Chandimal is to play, he will have to bat at number 3. If Chandimal is to bat at number 3, we will have to remove Kusal Janit and Kusal Mendes. Or we will have to remove Angelo Matthews. Then Chandimal will have to bat at 6. I have no problem with Chandimal. We have named Lasit Malinga in the 15. If he refuses, there is nothing we can do about it. Tell us, what can we do? Are we to leave him out of the World Cup and put him into the next team? No. If Malinga is injured, we will have to call up someone else. We appeal him to think about the country and play.
As the
chairman, I have no problem with Lasit's captaincy. The defeat was not due to a mistake made by him. The reason for the defeat was that the team did not perform well. But when the team does not perform well, the leader is accountable to some degree. I don't think anyone can question his knowledge. His captaincy and his field practice is all very good. The problem is that he could not unite the team.
Doubtless, the cricket-loving public will applaud the decision to appoint a young captain in the form of the Mutkarunaratne.
Deputy leader of the UNP, Mr. Sajid Premadasa, says that he will not obtain any position to serve the public without the people's mandate. He made the statement while addressing a gathering in Wallasmulla today.
Minister Premadasa also declared open the new Wallasmulla bus stop, which was financed by the Ministry of Housing, Construction and Cultural Affairs. This program was implemented under the Samata Sahana program. Minister Sajid Premadasa distributed cash and dry rations to 3,000 families in the area. Spectacles and professional equipment for self-employed individuals were also distributed at this event.
It is the public that elects us to our respective positions, and it is the public that removes us from these positions as well. I will never forget my past and my journey to date. I have no future generation or a family tree to protect. My family is the people of this country, the 22 million helpless people of my motherland. I will not use state power for personal benefit. I am prepared to use state power to feed the 22 million people of Sri Lanka, without any political, racial or religious differences. Some fear my preparation. Some spread false rumors about me and say that I am plotting conspiracies. I request the public not to believe such rumors. It is with pride I state that I never betrayed my party or my leader. I'd like to state to my people that it was Sajith Premadasa who rejected the position of Prime Minister 71 times. That does not mean that I don't want the position of Prime Minister or a higher position. We like to obtain such positions, but only with the blessings and mandate of the people and not in any other way. As the situation heats up, people are spreading various rumors. They are spreading rumors as they are aware that Sajith Premadasa does not engage in any corrupt activities. My whole life has been sacrificed to the general public.
ඒ කුමන්ත්‍රණකාරයෝ කටකතාකාරයෝ නිදුක් වෙත්වා නිරෝගී වෙත්වා සුවපත් වෙත්වා කුමන්ත්‍රණකාරයින්ට තෙරුවන්ගේම.
Former UNP Western Provincial Councillor Vijit Priyantha expressed the following views at a press conference held in Horana today.
Sajith is a leader who is accepted by the entire nation. Our party is safeguarded because of him. Today, he fights with all the Rajapaksas in Hambantota in order to safeguard the party. Most of the gentlemen who wear ties in Colombo hold positions in parliament and ministerial posts because of late President R. Premadasa. Some tell me not to come back to the village if Sajith Premadasa is not selected as the next presidential candidate. So if that cannot be understood by the gentlemen who wear ties and coats, what can we do? I think the party leader will take a decision to give the opportunity to Sajith Premadasa.
Non-Cabinet Minister Dr. Harsha De Silva spoke to journalists today during a visit to the Kantale area.
There is no need to stress on such issues. Everyone is aware as to who should be the next leader of our party. There is no need to think twice about it. Any UNP loyalist with a heartbeat knows the answer to this question.
UNP කාරයෙක් ඔය උත්තරේ දන්නවා. ඉතින් මොනවටද කෑකෝ ගහන්නේ? උත්තරේ නම් දන්නවා ලැබෙන්නේ නැති එකයි. වෙලාවට ලැබෙයි කිසි දෙයකට කලබල වෙන්න එපා.
Non-Cabinet Minister Ajit P. Pereira convened a media briefing today.
No, not yet. We will take that decision when the presidential election is officially announced. The parliamentary group and working committee will take that decision. I think that's a personal issue. We do not see a problem inside the party. It will blow over in a few days. The emergence of such issues are ordinary in such a heated up political arena. I think party members do not have any major interest in these.
Minister of Power and Renewable Energy and Business Development Ravi Karunanayake undertook an inspection tour of the electrical engineer's office in Dambulla today.
We are senior politicians. We don't have to be instigated. We speak about these within the party and we continue our work. The media provides the publicity.
In a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court today determined that the failure to provide accessible facilities for people with special needs to enter premises of various institutions violates their fundamental rights. The Ministry of Social Empowerment and Welfare and 7 other government institutions were ordered to take immediate measures to provide the necessary facilities adhering to the Disabled Persons Accessibility Regulations passed in 2006. The Supreme Court pointed out that institutions which fail to provide accessible facilities can be punished by filing legal action with a magistrate's court. The Supreme Court order was issued on the Ministry of Social Empowerment and Welfare, Ministry of Provincial Councils and Local Government, Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Housing and Construction, Ministry of Justice and Prison Reforms, Ministry of Tourism and the Urban Development Authority. The Supreme Court bench comprising of Justices Prasanna Jayawardena, Murthu Fernando and Vijit Malalgoda delivered the ruling after considering the FR petition filed by Dr. Ajit Pereira. The government was ordered to pay legal fees of 50,000 rupees to the petitioner. At least one person is killed every 3 hours in road accidents on average in Sri Lanka. The final rites were observed today for the 10 people who were killed in a head-on collision between a bus and a van in the Mahayangana town yesterday. This photograph was taken before the tragedy, while the group was enjoying the holidays in Nuwara. 10 people from 3 families lost their lives in the accident, and their remains were returned to their families this morning following the post-mortem examinations. They had left Mamangama in Batticaloa for the excursion on Monday. The group had picked up another child from the house of a relative in Colombo and travelled to Nuwara. They faced this tragic accident while on their way from Nuwara to Batticaloa. The father, mother and a pair of twins aged 4 lost their lives in the accident. Also among the deceased were the father, mother and daughter of another family. The 19-year-old boy who drove the vehicle also died in the accident.
Two girls aged 15 and 13 were transferred here from the Mahayangana hospital. The 15-year-old is currently on life support, but her condition is improving. She is currently in the ICU. The other girl is in the surgical ICU. She has suffered fractures and damage to vital organs, but her condition has improved somewhat.
A photograph taken inside the van prior to the accident shows that the girl was wearing her seatbelt when the collision occurred. Experts have consistently highlighted that wearing a seatbelt can greatly reduce bodily harm in the event of a road accident.
The current situation in Sri Lanka is every 3 hours we are losing one person on the road. So the main reason are, one is the high speed and the thing is that try to overtake another vehicle from that wrong side. The third one is using the alcohol and the drugs and driving the vehicle, using the mobile phone and try to drive the vehicles, and also feeling the drowsy. Most of the accidents, careless driving sister is the main reason. In the night that most of the drivers think now they can drive very fast.
The National Transport Commission says that the license of the driver of the private bus involved in the collision in Mahayangana has been suspended and that an investigation is underway. A statement issued by the Commission notes that the route permit for the bus has also been suspended for 1 month. Meanwhile, Minister of Finance Mangala Samaravira, who is in New York to represent Sri Lanka at the Financing for Development Forum of the UN Economic and Social Council, called on the Secretary-General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. At the meeting, the Secretary-General recalled his visits to Sri Lanka in the past, including his first visit in 1978. Stating that he was impressed by the peaceful resolution of the recent political crisis in Sri Lanka, the Secretary-General reaffirmed the commitment of the United Nations to continue to support the people of Sri Lanka, including in the reconciliation and sustainable development agenda.
A petition filed by Markandure Madush challenging the decision to deport him to Sri Lanka was taken up in a court in Dubai today. The court's decision will be announced on the 2nd of May.
Reports say that Markandure Madush had cited threats to his life in his petition. Meanwhile, while a deportation order has also been issued for musician Amar Pereira, who was apprehended along with Makandure Madush earlier this year, is currently detained at the Central Prison in Dubai. Reports say he will be deported in the near future. 23 individuals who were arrested along with the notorious underworld figure Makandure Madush have already been deported to Sri Lanka. Two of the suspects, Pia Pushpakumara and Mohammad Afridi Mohammad Inham, were taken into custody by the Criminal Investigations Department today upon arrival in Sri Lanka. Police headquarters announced that Mohammad Afridi Mohammad Inham has been identified as the son of underworld figure Kanjipani Imran's sister-in-law. 6 of the suspects were deported from Dubai yesterday, 4 of whom were released by the CID following questioning, while an individual identified as Dayan Buddhima Pereira is still being interrogated. The suspect Nilan Romesh Samarasinghe was produced before the Negombo Chief Magistrate Rajendra Jayasuriya today and remanded until the 22nd of this month.
Journalists inquired about the same thing yesterday. I can only state that investigation progress is being carried out by us after they arrive at the Katunayaka airport.
Meanwhile, police STF arrested a 28-year-old man from Markola Kiribadgoda for the possession of 5 kilograms of heroin.
Police said it was tipped off that the suspect was transporting heroin in a motorbike. The apprehended suspect was identified as a 28-year-old resident of Kalania. Interrogation of the suspect revealed the heroin ring was operated by one identified as Dematagoda Suddha. The suspect was handed over to the Police Narcotics Bureau for further interrogation.
Sri Lanka's first research satellite, Ravana-1, built by 2 Sri Lankan engineers, was launched into space early this morning. The satellite was carried to the International Space Station as cargo aboard the Antares rocket, which carries the Synagus cargo spacecraft. This nano-satellite goes down in the history books as the first satellite to be designed by 2 Sri Lankan nationals. Ravana-1 was designed by Tharindu Dayaratne, who is an electrical and electronics engineer of the University of Peradeniya, together with Dulani Chamika, who is a graduate of the Asian Technological Institute in Thailand. They built this satellite while studying space engineering at the Kyushu Institute of Technology in Japan. The satellite was handed to the Japanese Space Exploration Agency on the 18th of February. Tharindu and Dulani, together with the Japanese Space Exploration Agency, handed this over to NASA afterwards. The satellite is expected to fulfill 5 missions. This satellite is to be used to test the LoRa module software. When building the satellite, the duo concentrated more on software than on the hardware. The aim of this satellite is to test the reduction of orbiting speeds around the Earth. Measuring the strength of the gravitational pull of Earth is one of its other aims. The satellite was launched to space at 2:16 a.m. today. It is expected to orbit around the Earth 15 times a day at a speed of 7.6 kilometers per second.
Today is a day that all of us Sri Lankans could be proud of. At 6:30 p.m. tomorrow, the satellite is expected to make the first contact with the International Space Station. Afterwards, more likely in the month of June, the satellite will be released.
I intend on launching another satellite project in Sri Lanka. I also intend on sharing this knowledge that I have gathered with others and also conduct more research in the field.
This was the first step in the Arthur C. Clarke Institute's project to introduce nano-satellite technology to the country, conduct capacity building for engineers and scientists, and to provide many more nano-satellites and related services.
You're watching News First, and up next is Action TV.
Regular power cuts across the country have been halted for the moment following a decision by the Cabinet of Ministers which enabled the Ceylon Electricity Board to purchase 100 megawatts of electricity from the private sector over a 6-month period. By no means should this be considered as a conclusion of the power crisis facing the country. The CEB is yet to provide the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka with information and data on the agreements it has reached to purchase the 100 megawatts of power from the private sector. As such, the PUCSL is empowered by the 2002 Act of Parliament to challenge the CEB's agreement to purchase power from the private sector in court. However, this decision by the Cabinet of Ministers made on the 2nd of April has created a dilemma for the PUCSL. This document, signed by the Secretary to the Cabinet of Ministers, indicates that the PUCSL's legal action against the CEB, which stems from the CEB's illegal decision on the 17th of March to cut power without the Commission's approval, was heavily discussed by the Cabinet of Ministers. This document indicates that the Cabinet has considered this matter as a legal dispute between two public institutions. The decision made by the Cabinet to prevent the Public Utilities Commission, an independent regulator, from taking any future legal action against the CEB, as it quote-unquote creates public displeasure on the government, shows a clear failure on the part of the government to comprehend the role of a regulatory authority. If our Cabinet of Ministers is comprised of elected individuals who have been unable to comprehend that the PUCSL's legal action taken in line with the law is intended to protect the rights of the consumer, or in this case the public, then it is a cause for great shame for the entire nation. In what could prove to be a very dangerous move for democracy, this ludicrous decision taken by the Cabinet of Ministers could also be imposed on the Right to Information Commission, preventing the Commission from taking legal action against public institutions which fail to or refuse to disclose information to the public under the Act. Maybe as a next step, the Cabinet of Ministers should propose amendments to the laws on all regulatory authorities and not just the PUCSL. Perhaps the Cabinet can propose that the police should not enforce the law.
Embattled Jet Airways said yesterday it was halting all flight operations after its lenders rejected its plea for emergency funds, potentially bringing the curtains down on what was once India's largest private airline.
The carrier, saddled with roughly $1.2 billion of bank debt, has been teetering for weeks after failing to receive a stopgap loan of about $217 million from its lenders as part of a rescue deal agreed in late March. The company said in a two-page statement yesterday, quote, "The airline has been left with no other choice today but to go ahead with a temporary suspension of flight operations," unquote. At its peak, Jet operated over 120 planes and well over 600 daily flights. The airline, which has roughly 16,000 employees, has in recent weeks been forced to cancel hundreds of flights and to halt all flights to overseas destinations as funds have dried up.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news bulletin for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Take care and good night.
Good night.